Hi, I'm Dennis Weese. Welcome to our town. Now, we've got two of the people from Eagle Communications who work in our town all the time, except instead of one here and one there, they're both right here. Bryan Dennett.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing terrific. I am so glad to make you sit there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not so glad.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but very important. You know, we've been here with you how long?
I've been here 6 years, going on 7.
I remember reading your application and I said, this is a really good guy, we should get him. And you've proven every bit of that to be true. But you know, we started with a camera not as nice as that one, and a whole room full of stuff we didn't know what was that had been left to us by the prior company. And I think maybe your first trip to film something was probably right back there in the city council room.
Yeah, it probably was. And there was a lot of equipment sitting there, like you said, that the previous owners of the cable system had bought. And they'd done a really good job. As my understanding, a lot of our techs had been the ones that were going out and videotaping stuff. So,
Ralph Ward.
Yeah, I think Stan's had done some things. And I think it was one of those things that they had on their own initiative bought that equipment. The cable company had said we're going to do X, Y, and Z. So we did start off with some equipment, some of it kind of dated, but some other things that we were able to use immediately. Some
great war stories if we had time to tell them, but we'll have to do that some other time. You know, I remember sitting in a management meeting and saying we needed to hire somebody like you. And the question was, why? And that's when our broadband mission statement was written. I don't know if I've ever really told you that story, but the line that says, we seek to be the premier partner for the economic revitalization of the communities we serve here at Eagle. One of the things that I saw that we couldn't do that job without a voice into the community. Now you can either choose to run around and talk to a person one at a time, or you can do it like this, and I chose this. I think it's been very effective for us to have a voice into the community, and that chair is normally filled by a community member with something to say.
That's right. And then it gives an opportunity for people to tell their story. And like you said, it's either there's an upcoming event, which we do a much better job of helping somebody promote and make successful. We usually try not to cover events because we would rather do the work ahead of time and let the community know and let people know how they can get a part of it. And then, like you said, they can tell their story about their business. Maybe there's something the community doesn't know about them, or maybe it reaches out and touches somebody in the community that's thinking along the same lines, that thinks, you know, well, I couldn't do that. Well, here's usually setting somebody who has done what they've tried to do and talking about how they were able to do it.
We've had a long history of success with that. I think the very first client, if you will, that you and they came up with a collaborative idea was really Memorial Health Systems. And they produced a little show about Memorial Health System and what they did there. And you went up and shot it, edited it, and put it on our channel. I think that was our first real show.
Well, and that was an idea of going to Memorial Hospital and to Ann Brusso, who's their marketing person, and identifying that that was an opportunity if we were going to do a series. And again, a lot of the early stuff was basically to prove to people that we could do this. You know, let's do this to show how it will work, and maybe as a template for the future. They're an organization that's got a lot going on, and they had a lot of people that participated in that, and we set up and structured and did all of the producer work, basically, of lining people up, lining up the shoot times. We came in and produced, I'm not sure how many shows we actually produced, but it was a nicely done piece, and from that we developed a relationship with the hospital that has been successful for both of us, I think, ever since.
Yeah, following on, we do a lot of things with the hospital now. We engage with them in Impact the Cure, another event, their Flower Power event. but we have really become a partner with them, and I think largely through the efforts and the results of pointing a camera at them and saying, tell the community what's important to you.
And through the remodeling, they've had a lot of opportunities where they want to tell people about a new space. Maybe the clinic, the health clinic had moved, and we did a few pieces about that prior to its opening up to show people what it was going to look like. But then again, to communicate to people that this change had happened. You know, they had an open house inviting people to go there. And these are things that you can do in the newspaper, but with us, we can do it in a way that's a little bit more dynamic. We can show it to people, and it's something, frankly, we program several times, for it to run several times on Channel 2 over the course of a period of time. So that gives them really good outreach, but it also gives us a reason for people to tune in to Channel 2, is to see that information, and to see people that they know, and to find out about things.
You know, we're sitting here in the Malott room of the library, and behind us are the city council chambers, and you've already mentioned that we had a camera. We used to sit up there and do a city council meeting, and believe it or not, people actually watched that. I remember getting a call saying it didn't run last night, so tell me what's wrong or fix it. But since we changed from running meetings where people raise their hand like this and vote, and then you can't really tell much about what's going on in the city, to putting the city manager, mayors, other city council people, citizens about the issues that are going through the city in that chair, and having a conversation in front of the camera, our utility as an information agency has went way up, and the community benefits from it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you get a little bit more insight when you have somebody sit in the chair and you can do an interview with David Dillner to talk about what the city is doing, as opposed to a lot of times we've seen more and more that the commission meetings in general, it's all been discussed prior to the actual public meeting. There's not a lot of information. It's basically kind of more procedural. And so in that sense, it was a better use of our time to focus on trying to get the people into the chair to do an interview, as opposed to covering events like that. Because then also it impacts our schedule and our ability to do other things like we do commercial production. So
we have had almost every public service agency or unit of government in that chair. We had the school district with Dr. Guy a lot during their bond issue, but that wasn't the first time that she had appeared on our cameras. The city and the county both have been in that chair multiple times. I think we have, as a community, as a world, we've recognized the power of communicating through video. I think people get that. Maybe YouTube did that, I don't know, but I think we figured it out. I think we've understood that conversation on camera displayed on screens of all different sizes is a benefit to communication, and it works for us. So I invited you here because we have a strategy that we do and we know and we talk about, but we've never really told the public much about why we do what we do and how we do it. So we have some cool things planned for 2015 and beyond. We actually have 2 local channels we run content on, and I wanted you, because you're the prime driver of what goes on, how it gets on, and how it works, to explain to the public. So you mentioned Channel 2 a while ago. Yeah. Channel 2 is historically the channel that people see stuff on in our communities like this. But we also have Channel 20. We had to work for several years to get that second channel on the air everywhere. And so we have 2 channels, 2 opportunities for people to see local content from Eagle and our community. So explain to us how it works and what they're going to see in 15.
Okay. Channel 20 is the channel that, like you said, we traditionally have been playing things on. So we're keeping most of the stuff that you've seen there in the past on Channel 2. And Channel 2 is where we produce shows like this. There's a number of shows that we as Eagle produce in our communities. And that will be where you find them, is on Channel 2. This show is called Our Town. We do this mostly on a weekly basis with somebody in the Dickinson County area. It started with Abilene, but there are things that are going on in Chapman, like with Doug Thompson and the grocery store, that we wanted to cover. So Our Town is kind of a Dickinson County sort of situation. We also, if people don't know, what they see on Channel 2 is goes to Clay Center, Wakefield, over to Bennington and Minneapolis. And then down to the south, it goes to Marion, Hillsborough, Florence, and Lincolnville, which is the coverage area for the head end, or basically where the signal comes out of.
And Solomon Chapman on both sides of it.
Solomon Chapman, didn't mean to leave Solomon Chapman out. So when we do a show, it goes to all those places, which is nice because it gives us something that we can share in this geographic area. So that's what we're doing with our town, is going to be Dickinson County. We do a show up in Clay Center, with the Chamber of Commerce, and we'll continue doing that. Renee Langvart is the Chamber of Commerce up there, and we find that working with the Chamber of Commerce is a good idea because they usually know what's going on in the community. They also have a connection to the businesses, which we think is a good idea to focus on, to let people know about the community and the businesses, because that does help just keep things going in the communities, and it's helpful. Minneapolis, we work with the Chamber there, Hope Spano, to do interviews up there. And again, they are responsible. The chamber person usually is the one that is responsible for getting a guest. We set up a regular time to go shoot it, and we go up there and do all the production work for it. But they are working in partnership with us. It's an opportunity for them to highlight things in their community. One of the other counties that I forgot is Ellsworth. We're in Ellsworth, and that's been a really good experience with Carol at the Chamber in Ellsworth. She every month has got a show lined up. I don't even sometimes have to think about it. I just go there and I know she's going to be ready.
Does a real nice job
of
helping people give their vision.
Yeah, and then in the future we're working on shows to come out of Marion and Hillsborough as well. We're working with economic development there, or the Chamber of Commerce's. Now on Channel 20, what we've done is Channel 20 is viewed more of an education channel. So through the week, we play a lot of shows that come from schools. Now mainly, the one community that is producing a lot of content is Minneapolis, and mainly Dale Leach, who is a person up there who's been working with Eagle for longer, I think, than I've been part of Eagle.
That's right.
He does a lot of coverage of sports. And so what we have done is, through implementation of new equipment, to make it easier for us to get those things from Dale. That has been the majority of what Channel 20 has been. Every once in a while I'll play a ball game from Marion, because Gene Winkler is a person in Marion who runs a Channel 20 down there. There's actually two Channel 20s, one for the north, which is Dickinson, Ottawa, Clay County, and then one to the south, which is Marion. But that way, that's something we want to develop in the future. We're going to reach out to more of the schools, give them the opportunity to put their content, if they're producing anything, up on that channel. Makes it very easy for them to participate if they wish to. And then also, what we're taking is some of the things that were coming in that we would, that don't fit into either of those two molds, we would think of as public content, is what we play on Sundays and Mondays on Channel 20. And so that's kind of a general overview of what you see on those two channels.
You know, I think about Minneapolis, and you're right. When we bought all of this area, Minneapolis had a healthy local content strategy. However, as we moved into modern world and the other things we do with our infrastructure, it came into conflict, and it's a great time to explain how. The old local content system everywhere was a chair in a head end, which is where our signals are distributed from, next to either a video cassette recorder back in the day, then to a DVD deck, where the submitter, it comes up, puts it in, presses play, and sat there until it was over, or let it run in a loop. So we've had all of that. Wasn't the easiest, wasn't the best, but it worked for a long time. Here's why we can't do that anymore. As we became a broadband company, not just a TV or cable TV company, but really we're a broadband company, and video on TV is a part of our business, we run all sorts of people's data through those head ends. We have businesses of all types, including public data, schools, hospitals, all healthcare, you know, is a big thing. So securing those head ends is ever more important to us from access. And so that kind of ruled out the rocking chair next to the rack. So we had to come up with a way of keeping access from those communities possible, but still meeting the needs of security and modernization. So we did. We spent some money on hardware and software and training, and it takes a while to implement all of that, and we're still not done. But it's way better than it used to be, and the future looks very bright for people who want to engage like historically Minneapolis has. We could do the same thing for many school districts with not much extra effort today as compared to one-to-one relationship in the old days. I think that's a great opportunity for the future.
Yeah, I do too. One of the things that you pointed out too is if people have wondered over the past 6 years, there have been some changes that we've done with covering things, and the main one there is probably the parade. I'm going to blank on the name of the parade now.
Which town?
Here, the Central Kansas Free Fair Parade.
Okay.
It used to be covered live. Now that used a piece of equipment that forced a signal back through our lines back to the head end. The funny thing is, as technology advances, you can't do those kind of things.
That's not so funny anymore.
You can't accomplish those kind of things anymore. And when you're talking about transporting a television signal, it is not like any other signal. It's very robust, and it takes equipment that is, now you're talking in the thousands of dollars to send a signal from one point to another. And so as technology advances, it's kind of counterintuitive to think that you would maybe not be able to offer something that you had. But like you're talking about, is technology and frankly even our insurance, you know, things get more complicated, then they start saying, well, you can't do this the way you used to, and it's a technology issue or something else. So there are changes that happen, but a lot of those things, the other piece is that we put everything up to YouTube or onto a website so that people in our communities can see it. They can share it with people outside of our communities.
Technology giveth, technology taketh away. So the taketh away part, we can't put a T9 down in front of M&M Tire anymore and knock everybody's cable modem all the way back to the head end off and their telephones and all the other stuff. But what we can do is we can put up the Central Kansas Free Fair Parade on our TV the next day. And we can also make it simultaneously available anywhere in the world to all of those Abilene graduates or alumni who are all over the place, and let the power of Facebook and social media spread the good word that Abilene's still here and we still have a Central Kansas Free Fair Parade. Yeah,
and a lot of times the views that we get on YouTube, not to delve into it too much, but a lot of those are maybe grandparents or deployed military watching these things remotely. Because again, people can see that on Channel 2, but then there's a number of people just in our community. We're kind of bound with where the cable system goes or where the poles are. So there could be somebody that lives just outside of town that we can't get that, they can't get that service. So it's an opportunity to expand that footprint to a larger area, and of course to anybody who wants to see it.
What's the name of your show in Clay Center again?
Clay Center Now.
Okay, Clay Center Now, Renee Langbart. Third-party information, but Renee told us just recently that first show she did this year and had it on our TV, had it on the Salina Post, digitally available through YouTube, all of that. Her Facebook account for the chamber exploded. And it was obvious to her, what's different here? And it was somebody watched that show and started telling everybody to watch that show. And so the hits for that show and the news about that spread far beyond our cable TV system. And the value of the communication that Renee and her guest had done that day went with it. That's the technology give us part that we can do today that's multiplies quickly.
Yeah, and then that gives us a count of, or a general idea of how many people are watching it. A number of things that we get, one of the things we've been doing for a number of years is interviewing the senior high school athletes for fall sports, winter sports, and spring sports. One of the things you see is that you'll have a great deal of hits. The one in Ellsworth actually is the one that has the most hits for a group of people. that is something that's available as people change with things. That's available on their phone, computer, and then it's available for them to send to anybody else, and again, to share with relatives that may live in different parts of the country or the world.
I think back to when you and I and Elizabeth, my wife, went to Fort Leavenworth, and we came and we presented our film series out at the library. And I don't think we ever had more than 10 or 15 people come in and watch any of those shows, maybe one or two more than that. But we got hits from all over the world once we put them on the web, and sent that to the press person who had arranged those interviews, because those people who sat in that chair wanted to watch it, and they wanted their son or daughter to watch it, or mom or dad. And so those, I'd like to see, I don't think we have access to that anymore, but boy, wouldn't it be fun to see where that went all those years ago. Well, Bryan, I so appreciate you taking the time to climb out from behind the camera. David, thanks for shooting this for us today. So Bryan could sit here and turn 6 minutes into 24 just like that.
Well, the one thing I just in closing want to say is that everything that we do here, we can't do by ourselves. People need to want to help out by being in this chair or talking to somebody. So, you know, it's a great opportunity. It's not painful in any way. Believe me, I'm the one that'd rather be back there than here. But so, you know, if you have something, an upcoming event, if you have something that your organization does, there's a lot of stuff to talk about in the communities. So if you get a call from us or you touch base with somebody, we'd love to have you.
Bryan, thanks for coming. Thanks for what you do for Eagle Communications every day. Enjoyed having you. Thanks for watching Our Town today. I'm Dennis Weese, Bryan Dennett. Have a great day.